Deep in the heart of Mexico, where drug cartels reign supreme, a new chapter of their reign has been written underground. Forget luxury mansions and jungle hideouts. These kingpins dug deep, creating elaborate bunkers. But what happened next wasn't safety. It was a descent into chaos that left the world speechless. Why did these notorious criminals risk everything to live beneath the surface? Stay tuned, because the story that unfolds will blow your mind. Why Mexican drug lords chose. Bunkers. Mexican drug lords built their empires on blood money and fear, but their greatest enemy was always paranoia. Every cartel boss knew rival gangs wanted him dead. The cops were closing in. Betrayal lurked around every corner. As governments deployed drones, tapped phones, and expanded intelligence, these kingpins felt increasingly vulnerable in their lavish villas. Going underground wasn't just smart, it was a necessity. Survival in this brutal war demanded they vanish from the surface, but the bunkers were more than just hiding spots. Narcos craved control. They didn't just want walls, they wanted invincibility. Underground they felt untouchable, as if they'd transformed the earth itself into armor. Helicopters and sudden raids were useless. Inside these bunkers they could eat, sleep, plot, and party. For a cartel boss, this feeling of absolute power was more addictive than the drugs they sold. In a world of constant betrayal, it was the ultimate high. These weren't your average shelters. Millions of dollars flowed into the construction of these fortresses. Cartels hired military engineers, corrupt architects, and mining experts to carve through rock and dirt without detection. Front companies, both legitimate and cartel-owned, built hideouts designed to withstand explosions and floods. Thick reinforced concrete, steel blast doors, and advanced air filtration systems became standard. Some bunkers stretched for miles, concealed beneath barns, factories, or even family homes. These weren't just hideouts. They were underground cities built by men at war with the world. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the infamous head of the Sinaloa cartel, exemplified this obsession. El Chapo was notorious for his power, but equally so for his tunnel mania. His safe houses were interconnected by a network of secret escape routes. Some led straight to city sewers, others into the open countryside. Police discovered hidden tunnels with lighting and ventilation, closet doors concealing ladders, and trapdoors beneath bathtubs. For El Chapo, every house was a potential escape pod. El Chapo wasn't alone. Investigators in Michoacán uncovered basements reinforced against grenades and bullets. In Tamaulipas, they found entire underground garages filled with armored vehicles, ready for war. Some even featured generators, kitchens, and armories, allowing gangs to disappear for weeks. As cartels dug deeper, the designs grew more elaborate. Mexico was locked in a secret arms race, with each new discovery more shocking than the last. Bunkers became status symbols. A fancy mansion signaled wealth, but an underground fortress declared absolute power. It warned enemies that you were untouchable, that your home was unassailable. Whispers of secret tunnels and vaults inspired both fear and respect within the cartels. In many ways, a bunker became the new throne for Mexico's criminal kings. This obsession reveals a critical aspect of the cartel's mindset: long-term planning. Villas and cars were temporary, easily seized or destroyed, but an underground system was permanent, outlasting even the boss himself. The cartels invested heavily, creating safe havens for future generations. The earth became an enduring fortress, like the castles of fallen empires. Narcos weren't just thinking of today, they were securing their legacy for tomorrow. The bunkers also served as logistical hubs for drug trafficking. Tunnels connected warehouses to border crossings, allowing shipments to move unseen. By combining security with profit, the cartels created a system where evading the law was only half the story. Mexico's underworld wasn't just about survival, it was a hidden highway for drugs and money. When police and military forces finally breached these cartel hideouts, they were stunned by the sheer extravagance they found. These weren't mere holes in the ground. They were designed with the comforts of a luxury home. Bedrooms featured fine furniture, plush beds, and air conditioners humming in the stale underground air. Some even had satellite TVs, allowing them to watch foreign channels while the war raged above. They were designed to blur the line between prison and palace. Kitchens were stocked with imported liquor, gourmet food, and enough supplies to last months. Bottles of French champagne sat alongside cans of caviar, showcasing the cartel's ability to create an alternate reality underground. Chefs were sometimes brought into the bunkers to prepare meals, transforming them into secret restaurants for the powerful. Every detail reinforced the message. These kingpins intended to live lavishly even when surrounded. Religion followed them underground. Shrines were carved into concrete walls, illuminated by flickering candles. Catholic images of saints were common, but Santa Muerte, the skeleton folk saint revered by cartel members for protection, was the most prominent. These statues stood beside offerings of cigarettes, alcohol, and even jewelry, as if death itself were their shield. Faith and fear intertwined, revealing the deeper psyche of the narcos. They were trying to outrun the law while clinging to the supernatural. In a dangerous world, faith became their last defense. The security was often better than government facilities. Surveillance rooms displayed live feeds from cameras above ground. Military-grade radios crackled with chatter, providing constant updates on police movements. Some bunkers boasted encrypted systems and thermal imaging equipment, rivaling paramilitary groups. These weren't just hideouts, they were underground command centers. Technology became their early warning system. The scale of the problem shocked authorities. Bunkers were linked by complex tunnel networks stretching kilometers beneath cities and across borders. These tunnels connected warehouses and safe houses, sometimes emerging in remote farmland, providing multiple escape routes. Cars, motorcycles, and even rail carts transported drugs and people undetected. Entire underground roadways existed beneath unsuspecting communities, creating a secret map of power. It wasn't just about survival, it was about infrastructure control. Rare animals like tigers and parrots served as status symbols, living in underground cages. Gold-plated sinks, marble floors, and mirrored ceilings contrasted sharply with the damp earth outside. Vaults with thick steel doors secured vast sums of cash, stacked like bricks. Secret compartments concealed weapons, diamonds, and records that detailed the affairs of entire nations. Each find was a glimpse into a world of hidden excess. The psychological impact of these bunkers was immense. Cartel leaders lived in bubbles, shielded from reality. Every wall protected them from police, betrayal, even time itself. They created underground kingdoms where they were feared, respected, and catered to as rulers. But these cocoons also became prisons, fostering a delusional sense of invincibility. The false sense of security became as addictive as the money itself. Military researchers studying the bunkers discovered that prolonged isolation eroded a leader's grasp on the streets and power dynamics. Some lost touch with allies and enemies, believing their wealth and tunnels made them untouchable. This hubris led to mistakes, delayed orders, misread threats, and a failure to adapt to rival gang activity. Safety became a dangerous form of blindness. Bunkers also transformed the nature of cartel warfare. They weren't just using weapons, they were building fortifications designed for prolonged sieges. Cartel leaders could retreat into reinforced caves stocked with supplies, forcing law enforcement to be patient, strategic, and lucky. These fortresses turned battles into psychological warfare. Both the guns and the ground changed the game. With each discovery, the mystery deepened. Authorities admitted they likely uncovered only a fraction of these secret hideouts. With millions spent on design, engineering, and security, countless networks may remain hidden. Some whispered of new bunkers with escape tunnels leading to rivers or the ocean. A hidden world beneath Mexico, a shadow nation, where the earth itself was the cartel's armor. As the cartels dug deeper, the cat-and-mouse game between them and law enforcement reached unprecedented levels. The Mexican Marines, the DEA, and elite police units were forced to adapt to a subterranean battlefield. Standard raids were obsolete against bunkers with steel doors, blast-proof walls, and escape tunnels stretching beneath entire neighborhoods. These missions evolved into urban warfare conducted in the dark. A 2007 raid in Michoacán marked a turning point. Soldiers breached a bunker resembling a military base, complete with grenade launchers, armored doors, and booby traps. It was designed to withstand attacks long enough for the kingpins to escape through hidden tunnels. Soldiers blasted through steel and stormed rooms filled with weapons and cash. Investigators were astounded by the complexity of the design, confirming the cartels were employing engineers to build war-ready shelters. 5 years later in Coahuila, the military deployed ground-penetrating radar, allowing them to see beneath the surface for the first time. Scanners revealed hidden rooms buried beneath seemingly normal fields. Inside, troops found bunkers, stocked with months' worth of supplies, surveillance equipment, and satellite phones. It was clear the cartels weren't just hiding. They were preparing for long sieges, hoping to outlast the government. Then came the 2014 raids in Tamaulipas, which revealed a chilling new dimension. Soldiers expected armed combatants, but instead found entire families living underground with cartel leaders. Kitchens, playrooms, and bedrooms were built alongside arsenals and stacks of cash. It was a macabre parody of suburban life, where children grew up surrounded by armored doors and escape hatches. The bunkers weren't just safe havens for leaders, they were creating underground communities, normalizing cartel life for the next generation. As the raids intensified, the operations became increasingly cinematic. Soldiers rappelled from helicopters, breached steel doors with explosives, and navigated smoke-filled rooms. Often they found kingpins desperately trying to flee before the walls collapsed. Through night vision goggles, the dark tunnels resembled scenes from a war movie, shadows racing through the narrow shafts. Each raid was a spectacle of chaos, destruction, and desperation. One raid uncovered a secret tunnel entrance inside a church. On the surface, it was a quiet parish with stained glass, windows, and a small congregation. But beneath it, a tunnel led directly to a cartel bunker several blocks away. This intersection of faith and crime shocked even seasoned investigators. It demonstrated how deeply the cartels had infiltrated everyday communities. It instilled fear that they could hide anywhere, even in sacred places. These raids shattered the cartel's illusion of invisibility. Aggressive military tactics and ground-penetrating radar exposed their bunkers, dismantling the myth of underground safety. These structures transformed from impenetrable fortresses into elaborate traps. Each bunker raid sent a clear message. The deeper they dug, the harder the military would push. The tunnels meant to save them were becoming their doom. While cartel bosses built bunkers for protection, the very defenses designed to safeguard them often became their downfall. Once discovered, the limited entry and exit points transformed these havens into inescapable cages. When the military located these hideouts, they exploited the choke points. Soldiers covertly sealed off escape hatches, leaving those inside with no means of egress. Tear gas and smoke bombs filled the air, making it unbreathable. Instead of a shootout, cartel leaders suffocated in darkness and silence. Their own security measures became their tombs. Rival cartels also learned to exploit these vulnerabilities. Rather than storming a bunker, they simply sealed off the tunnels, cutting off all access. As food and air dwindled, those inside were forced to surrender or perish within. Capturing the bunkers became a matter of waiting, a transformation from defensive stronghold to slow, suffocating nightmare. Betrayal further complicated the situation. Engineers involved in the bunker's construction often provided intelligence to the authorities or rival cartels. Bodyguards, once sworn to loyalty, divulged precise locations under duress or for payment. Consequently, remaining inside the bunkers proved more perilous than venturing out. Narcos who placed their trust in their inner circle were often buried, alive by those they paid for protection. In one particularly chilling instance, a drug lord was trapped within a secure bunker containing a staggering $22 million in cash. However, his fortune offered no salvation as forces surrounded the structure, pumping gas into its confines. With no airflow and no assistance forthcoming, he was compelled to surrender. His empire crumbled, and his wealth sat idly by, rendered useless in the corner. Before incarceration, money was just power. Ironic, wasn't it? What cartel bosses believed would preserve their lives instead severed them from their families, networks, and even their soldiers. Concealed deep underground, they couldn't see or summon aid, and in the event of discovery, they lacked any means of escape. Suspicion and fear of betrayal consumed them, rendering the bunkers less of a sanctuary and more of a prison. Law enforcement realized time was their most potent asset. There was no need to employ heavy weaponry to breach the caves. By cutting off water, power, and airflow, desperation took hold. Inside, food spoiled, oxygen diminished, and confidence waned. The most formidable cartel leaders, men who once commanded, armies were reduced to coughing, starving figures surrendering without a fight. The police anticipated finding weapons and currency during their raids on the abandoned bunkers. However, they were unprepared for the level of preparation that had gone into their construction. Rooms constructed from reinforced concrete held an arsenal of firearms, many of military-grade origin. RPGs, anti-aircraft guns, and rifles were traced back to suppliers in the United States. These bunkers were not just hiding places, they were concealed war machines. One room contained shelves stacked with coded ledgers. Each entry was meticulously annotated with names, numbers, and cryptic symbols. These were not mere scribbles. They were intricate financial blueprints for the operation of the cartel. The police discovered they had stumbled upon the financial nexus of drug empires worth billions of dollars. From political bribes to troop stipends, every peso was accounted for. It was akin to examining a dark counterpart to a Fortune 500 enterprise. Detectives unearthed rooms dedicated to torture. These spaces were lined with steel and featured chains bolted to the walls, their silence broken only by the echoes of unspeakable acts. Bloodstains indicated recent use. For the cartels, these chambers were more than instruments of intimidation. They were tools for maintaining discipline among competitors. The horrifying evidence of violence woven into their business practices was disturbing. Expensive luxuries juxtaposed with the surrounding blood and weaponry. Priceless works of art were stacked next to cases of fine liquor, their opulence surreal. In subterranean garages, luxury armored vehicles gathered dust, their engines poised but immobile. These discoveries demonstrated how gang leaders surrounded themselves with emblems of wealth, even in constant peril. It was an uncanny blend of fear and bravado. A network of pipes extending far beyond Mexico's borders represented the most unsettling finding. Certain lines were traced to storage facilities in Arizona and California. Equipped with air vents, lighting, and rail tracks for carts, these escape routes provided seamless passage. Satellites and drones were unable to detect the entirety of the supply chain buried beneath the desert. Drugs and money had been flowing into the United States through these tunnels for years. But inside, not everything was as it seemed. Investigators unearthed a massive underground tank teeming with exotic fish in one bunker. Another housed a soundproof music studio equipped with recording equipment. Even stranger were the piles of rare artifacts looted from Latin American archaeological sites. These were not merely status symbols. They were indications of the cartel leaders' esoteric interests, transforming their bunkers into concealed museums accessible only to the select few. Each discovery revealed more about the minds of the men who erected these underground castles. Hiding was not enough. They aspired to control every contingency. The ledgers reflected a lust for money, the torture chambers a lust for power, and the tunnels a lust for life. Their obsession with wealth manifested in every aspect, even where it remained unseen. Investigators were shocked to learn that these bunkers functioned as shadow economies. The coded ledgers revealed connections to both legitimate business investments and illegal drug sales. The cartels secretly controlled construction companies, farms, and even small-town stores. These bunkers did more than conceal crime. They normalized it, blurring the boundary between cartel and society. With AI tracking vast desert bases and camouflage to evade drone detection, the cartel bunker arms race may be outpacing government technology. Intelligence sources say that underground warfare isn't dead, it is just being modernized. Cartels are experimenting with AI to monitor above-ground activity and provide real-time alerts, giving leaders critical seconds to escape approaching vehicles, troops, or drones. They're also using thermal blocking materials and disguising ventilation, shafts as natural terrain to evade thermal imaging, and hiding entrances under fake farmhouses to conceal them from the police. High-tech filtration systems now allow bunkers to serve as long-term command hubs rather than just emergency shelters. Mine and military blueprints inform the designs, creating airflow without exposing exterior vents. Cartels are also moving away from deep hideouts and towards border tunnels that can hide people and keep trade lines open. This makes it harder to get caught and more profitable. The US and Mexico are fighting back by using satellite scanning that can spot changes in ground warmth or shape and AI programs to identify subtle indicators like plant growth patterns. International cooperation is making it harder for cartels to stay hidden and faster than ever to get caught. Some suggest the possibility of underground megabases in remote deserts or self-contained underground hubs with homes, drug labs, and escape networks, but the challenges remain. While improved bunkers can withstand attacks, they also produce digital or thermal footprints that can lead authorities straight to them. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click on the next video for more amazing content.